Let's podcast after dark. Speaking of dark, I'm going to have to break out the bourbon from Chris, the dark arts, because Joe, I don't know how to describe what the hell happened at the end of that game. 3 goals, 80 seconds to take this thing over, stun the Islanders in the third period. That was dark arts, man. That's what I saw at PNC Arena.
It was at least magic, Joe. It was at least magic. Sebastian Aho with the tip in on the Svechnikov shot, pass, whatever you want to call it, obviously ties that thing up. That was the most important. And then it just felt like the Islanders completely fell apart after that. Martinook kind of stuffs one. 9 seconds later at the post, ends up beating the villain from Harry Potter, is officially what I'm calling Semyon Varlamov. You can't say his name. He who
shall not be named. Yes,
he could not stop he couldn't catch a football with a net. I mean, I don't know what he was doing there in the third period. He was bad, and I thought the game pressure kind of crumpled him. Very loud in here. I don't know who was worried about the crowd, but they showed out certainly in the third period here.
I don't think anybody's necessarily worried about the crowd. I think we talked about it a little bit on Saturday night, and we talked about it a little bit on today's podcast. I think ultimately people are pacing themselves, unless you're Serena, who had the beer stick and we put 2 Mickey's wide mouth in that thing. And I couldn't shotgun it. I'm gonna have to find a crap beer that I can shotgun. I was not able to do 22 ounces of Mickey's wide mouth, but maybe that's for another time. It's weird. The Canes fell down. What was it? 3-0. It was 3-0, and you and I were up in the press box, and I joked, I'm like, all right, time to look at the live line, because we all know that a 3-goal lead is the most dangerous lead in hockey. Now, mind you, I know the ESPN broadcast was all over this. The New York Islanders have had a 3-goal lead. I believe it's 81 times in playoff situations. And this was the first time they've blown a 3-goal lead in the playoffs. But it was funny. I was just joking around. I'm like, man, I've seen the Canes do this before, because I thought, despite the fact that the Carolina Hurricanes were trailing, I felt like the Carolina Hurricanes, for the most part, were controlling play. Yes, the Islanders want to play keep away. They want to stall. But I also thought, and you and I saw this, the Canes spent a lot of time in the Islanders zone, a ton of time in the zone. They were trying to set things up. They were trying to get some quality shots. Sometimes they were going a little bit wide. Sometimes they went off the post. I mean, it's not like they weren't getting opportunities. I almost felt like we were getting a replay of the, yes, you're going to pepper the goalie with a bunch of shots, but you're not actually going to get some quality chances. But I did have the sense that the Canes were just going to stick with what they know, stick with the system, keep plugging away. Eventually, something was going to break. And, of course, that ended up happening there in the third period where they took it over. And the other thing, too, there was the goals that happened to put them back into it, and then there was the goal that was taken away. That was another crucial part of this. When Seth Jarvis got this within 1, when it was 3-2, what was a high stick that took that thing out in Toronto, and that prevented the Islanders from kind of staving off any sort of momentum that the Canes were building. I mean, look, man, that's 5 unanswered goals. To take that goal off the board, I think helped the Canes even more so to say, we've got a chance here. Let's keep plugging away. And obviously that happened.
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. Also, the way that they dominated in the second period, they weren't necessarily rewarded for the way that they played. But, Corey Lavalette from The Athletic and the North State Journal and Luke DeCock were both giving me all of the Corsi stats and the high danger numbers. The second period was absolutely ridiculous, but they only scored 1 goal. But I do think, and I was able to ask Jordan Staal about this, I think just knowing the way that they had played in that second period, it was like, okay, if we can stick to this, if we can stay on this, we will at least put enough game pressure on them to give ourselves a chance to win the hockey game, which is what they did in the third period. I know some people were looking for some of the final stats. The Islanders finished with 12 shots. The Hurricanes had 39. Interesting, because the Islanders actually were the ones with more shots in game 1.
Yes.
I thought, the way that the Islanders were opportunistic and being able to talk to Jordan a little bit about those goals, he said,
The first goal by Palmieri, and you know me, I'm always interested in the bad parts, right?
Tell you what. Let's hear your conversation with Jordan Staal. This is it's funny. People were like, let's go. I'm like, hold up, wait for Joe to get back from the locker room. He's talking to somebody. We want to present it. So here you are talking to Jordan Staal after the game.
Let's start with the bad stuff. He fall down 3-0. Any sort of what the fuck is going on here from you?
Yeah, I said wakey after the first, and the guys did. So, it's
not that you guys didn't play well the first 15 minutes.
No, we weren't bad. We weren't great. Obviously, they had a late one too, which always stings going in between periods. So, it was a little bit of that. And then I thought we rolled right into the second and played our style. And when you start spotting them goals, it's not easy to come back. Sometimes you don't, but and we would have been frustrated with our start. But tonight we found a way to get back, and it was pretty epic.
Year 6 for this group. You make that comeback. There's no panic probably because of that experience, right? The third period.
Yeah, no, I can see that. It helps a little bit. Just you have to have trust in your game, and as soon as you're down 3 and you start changing things, it's when it gets worse. So it didn't get worse. It got a lot better, and the guys stuck with what we do, and I hope that's even going to give even more confidence in our game and how we're going to win the series.
Apparently, the numbers in the second period were off the charts. Does that matter to you guys? Is that where you kind of say, we'll just keep playing the way that we're playing and this thing will burst for us?
Yeah, you hope. I mean, like I said, it doesn't happen every time, but, we never want to spot them 3 goals and be down like that. But you hope when we play the way we do in the second and third that, eventually you're going to win the game. So, give yourself the best chance that way. So that was it was great to see.
Last one for me. They had a lot of time on the first goal and the third goal in front of Freddie. How does that breakdown kind of happen?
Yeah.
And did you see it that way?
Yeah, the 4-on-4 one that was on 4, I think it was just kind of a miscommunication, and I think he made a great play kind of back in front and kind of caught both our D, and I was standing there like a big Dumbo too. So it wasn't great. Obviously wanted to get that back, and we did, but I don't remember the third one.
Anders, it seems like he had a lot of time.
Yeah, that was a power play goal, right? So, I mean, they made some good passes, and that's kind of how we kill. So they made some really good passes. They made a good play, and it was a good goal. But obviously don't want to give those up. And then the other one was just kind of a quick shot in front, quick play, and that's just kind of the stress game that Roddy talks about. And, they did a great job in the first, and we got to our stress game and took over the game.
Yeah, the power play goal. Thank you. Lose the fourth battle.
So that was Joe Giglio with Jordan Staal. I know you love talking to a happy.
I can't do my lighting. Trying over here, man. I thought this Logic thing had a light on it. It doesn't.
No, I have the other one in the bag. But next time we'll do that. But no, I know you love talking to a happy Jordan Staal after a game. That was a happy captain after the fact.
Yeah, and I was out of practice because there was 2 scrums. I missed Aho, and when Jordan was done, he was walking away, and I'm like, no, sir, no. But he's like the last one. Well, no, and luckily we're making some progress with Aho and Jarvis, but they brought Jarvis to the podium today, so I missed out on him. But no, you listen. This is one of those games where you're like, okay, you have something special. You said the dark arts. Magic was the word that Caligari used in the elevator on the way up here, and it is a little bit of that, right? We had the Molson Miracle. I don't even know what you want to call this one. Pandemonium at PNC, or
I don't know.
We'll come up with something better.
Yeah,
we'll come up with something better. But I don't even know if my curse word was caught there, or did you edit me out when I said?
No, it's in there. That was raw audio.
I think that's what I was kind of thinking. Was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are you losing 3-0 to this team? Yeah. And fair enough. Yeah. The Horvat goal at the end of the first period was a high skill goal. You know what I mean? But Palmieri, was a little bit of like he had enough time to make a sandwich. And then the power play goal, Anders Lee made a nice play. Now you're down 3, and you got to be sitting here thinking, like, what are we doing?
Well, to answer your question, why the Canes were down 3-0 to that team, given the way that they started. I mean, I don't think, what is it? The Islanders didn't have a shot on goal until 13 minutes for the first 13 minutes of the first period. They didn't have a shot. Now, the reason why, and I had jotted this down in the second period when things had kind of gotten down to a slog, and this is where hockey is stupid. Hockey is one of the dumbest games that we watch and enjoy, because you can go out there and dominate a team like the way I thought the Carolina Hurricanes were, but if you give the other team an opportunity, well, they're going to take advantage of it. And I thought the Islanders did a better job being a step quicker on certain things. Like, for instance, that first goal with Freddie Anderson. Could Freddie Anderson cover it up? Yeah, he could. But Palmieri was quicker on the draw, and he was quicker than Jordan Staal to get over. I think Brent Burns also was in that situation as well. You mentioned the Horvat goal. That was him getting the better of Freddie Anderson after Anderson had a really nice stop on him on a mistake in the neutral zone in the breakaway. And Freddie did a really good job of stopping that, did a really good job of hedging. All right, am I going to come out? Am I not? He did not come out. He played it perfectly. But you talk about a high skill, but that actually ended up on the boards. I think it was, who was it? It was Cizikas, who I think had beaten Natchez to the boards and started that. And that would end up being like a tic-tac-toe high skill goal, like you said. And then, the Anders Lee, man, look, they just got beat defensively. And it was like watching, I mean, they couldn't even skate right. I mean, that's how it was. Let's bring out Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. We need a nifty name for this one, Luke. I mean, we had the Molson Miracle. I don't even know what the hell
I survive. High five. I'm working on it. I still got some time here. I'm done talking to you guys. We're going to crunch the numbers. But I will say I did talk. Eric Staal was here tonight, watching as a civilian, and I had a chat with him in the locker room, and it was for both of us very reminiscent of games, Hurricanes playoff games past, usually against the Devils, but other teams as well. And it does seem like there is something in this franchise's DNA in the postseason where the impossible sort of becomes possible. So it's an interesting dynamic to see this repeat itself over and over again with different groups. I remember the 09, the shock at the Rock, the Game 7 against the Devils, walking into the Hurricanes locker room at Prudential Center. And everyone ran to Eric Staal, scored the series-winning goal. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of wandered over to Rod Brindamore, who was still in full gear at that point, sort of sitting in his locker marinating. And we just kind of looked at each other and laughed. And then he, after a decent pause, he said, "It's amazing the shit we can pull off sometimes." And I feel like that is kind of the through line of this franchise over the years, even with that 10-year drought. Game 7 in Washington. Brock McGinn's goal, what's his name? Max Domi scoring in Game 7, 2 goals in Game 7 to beat the Bruins. Like, there's weird stuff that happens, and this is right up there. That said, if you play the way the Hurricanes did over the last 30 minutes of the game, you probably should score 5 goals.
Yes. So I was actually having flashbacks to, you talk about what's in the DNA of the Carolina Hurricanes, but I was also getting some flashbacks to series that did not go their way the last couple of years. They were playing the way that Rod wants them to play, but they couldn't cash it in for a variety of reasons. Going wide, hitting the post, putting it in his gut. There just wasn't they just needed a step quicker, which is what I had jotted down for those first 3 goals from the Islanders. They were just a step quicker when they had the opportunities. The Canes didn't. But look, man, it broke open. And I'll ask you this question, Luke, because we haven't brought it up yet. But the way that game ended for the Islanders, the way they were just doing that classic postseason, fine. We lost this game. Let's try to send some sort of message before we go back to the island, all that kind of stuff, getting chippy and everything else. I feel like the way that they ended that game, they lost the series right there.
But and this did not feel like we lost the game, we're going to send a message for the next one. This felt like a broken team lashing out. Mm-hmm. And the way, I'm watching, this shenanigans are going on, they're jumping Gensel and doing all these things. I'm watching Patrick Waugh on the bench, and he looks, and this is a guy who's seen everything. He looks shell-shocked. I mean, the last time Patrick Waugh took an L like this, he demanded a trade to Colorado. So that's a deep cut for your hockey fans, our hockey fan listeners,
our hockey knowers in the chat.
Yes, the hockey knowers who know their Canadians history.
Yes.
No, I mean, look, this is the game the Hurricanes have lost in the playoffs over and over again. Hey, when's the last time the Hurricanes dominated and couldn't score against a Russian goalie? Like, that's how their last 2 seasons have ended. Like this, like the first 35 minutes of this game.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're having flashbacks, I mean, we joked about this during the year. You know, they'd lose 2-1 to the Rangers and they'd outshoot them 52-6. And you'd be like, oh, it's the playoffs. Haha. But this game, and maybe that's what's different about this group, they found a way to fight through that, get 1 goal, get the 2nd goal, get the 3rd goal. I mean, when's the last time both teams pulled their goalies in a playoff game?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I mean, we're out in the realm here. This is way on the outer edge of hockey, the hockey solar system. We're in uncharted territory. So even with all the things we talk about, you know, the John Madden face-off that he loses and he wins and the Hurricanes get the puck and score and force overtime against the Devils. Shock at the Rock, miracle at Molson, all the crap we talk about. Rob Brindamore's goal in game 1 against the Oilers when Ty Conklin turns it over. All these things that have happened over the years. This is up there. This is a game we are going to talk about no matter what happens the rest of the playoffs for the next 5, 10, 20 years. And it's going to be like Greensboro. Just how there were 3,000 people in the building in Greensboro, and now there's 30,000 people who claim they were there every single night driving back and forth. There are going to be 100,000 people who claim they were here for this one. And all of them are going to claim they took the live line at plus 500 in the middle of the second period. I know you did. I know you did.
Wait a damn minute. We were all sitting up there in the press box, and I proclaimed live line $5. Let's go. I won. I think I got it at plus 520. I won $31. Thank you very much.
Don't spend it all in one place. Hey, how about all the people who had the Hurricanes minus 1.5 tonight and were busy setting themselves on fire?
Oh,
in
yeah.
the middle of the game and are now collecting their winnings.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I also had the parlay, Joe, that I did earlier today, which included a Seth Jarvis over 2.5. Nailed that one too. I made $64 tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Buddy, man, you turned $5 into $60. You're doing some work.
Let's go. No, it's funny. I on Twitter, I got a bunch of people taking screen grabs of their various live wagers from the plus 520. It's like, hey, somebody got it at plus 550. I was like, damn.
Man, let me tell you this. I've kind of come around a little bit on the legalized gambling thing.
Yeah.
It's more dangerous than I thought it was. I was pro legalizing gambling here. I'm starting to see kind of that it's a little more dangerous to have everything right there. But let's take a moment to appreciate. Gambling became legal in North Carolina the Monday of the ACC tournament. Mm-hmm. Every NC State fan took their $100 and $250 bonus bet and put it on random ass NC State shit. Win the ACC tournament. Go to the Final Four. Hey, man, if State goes to the Final Four, I'm going to win $10,000. So the books took a bath on the Wolfpack. Imagine the bath they took tonight.
Yes.
A 5 unanswered goal comeback.
Dude,
love it.
I
had to Vegas.
I had somebody email me $13,000 they won on the Wolfpack.
Yeah.
$13,000 turned around on bonus bets. Now, I don't think I'm going to make that much because I used all my bonus bets on the Carolina Hurricanes to win every series along the way. That's what I did with my $25. I don't think Drake May is going to be taken overall #1 on Thursday night, but you know what?
If he is,
stranger things have happened. I'm just saying. But we'll see what. All right, we'll close on this, Luke, and then you can get to writing your headline and coining this win tonight at PNC Arena. Goalie conversation will show up at the end of this series. Thursday night, I'm guessing a Thursday night we'll get a Freddie Anderson. The question is, what do you do to go to Saturday at 2:00? Does that kind of turnaround affect anything? Do you let Freddie potentially close this thing out on Saturday at 2:00 if they win on Thursday night? How does Rod Brindamore play this? I know the rotation is over the minute the playoffs started, but I do feel that there is some gamesmanship with goalie and Kochetkov.
Yeah, and I think there's also, you are still talking about Freddie Anderson. This is the first time he started consecutive games since November.
Yes.
Right. So he is still working his way back into the idea of playing every game. And you've got 2 days off before Thursday's game. I think the interesting that if they win, I think you come back with Freddie because you've got nothing to lose at that. I mean, you just let him roll, right? Yeah. Let him cook. If they lose game 3, I think that does become a really interesting question of, do you want to go to Kochetkov and have Freddie fresh for game 5? Because now you've gone from potentially sweeping and then Freddie gets a ton of rest after that to all right, we need a gentleman's sweep. Let's see if Peter can steal one in game 4, come back with Freddie to close it out in game 5. I think that maybe becomes a conversation because you're right. It is a shorter turnaround. Mm-hmm. But I think for game 3, I don't think Freddie was great tonight. I don't hold the goals against him the way some people are. No. But you are dealing with a goalie who is coming off a very long layoff, has not played. Played 10 games, now 12, but that's not a ton. Should have a lot of tread on the tires because he didn't play in November and December and January and February. But I do think there are some interesting questions as you get into sort of that game 4 turnaround. Depends on what happens in game 3. If he's great in game 3,
let him ride.
Let him go. If he struggles and they win or they lose, then I think you maybe do want to think about the rotation. But I do think this is a different year for the Hurricanes in that the intention, unlike years past, is if Freddie's okay and he's feeling good, we're going to run him. He's our number one guy. We haven't had this from the start of the playoffs. So I'm not sure that there's going to be the urge to rotate that we've seen the last 2 years.
Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer. All right, man, we appreciate it. We will talk to you later.
All right, guys. See you back.
All right, Joe, would you like to go to the Jordan Martinook Bally Sports post-game extravaganza?
Yes, please.
Let's do it. This is from Bally Sports. Hannah Yates talking to Martinook, and it was loud.
The first star of the game. Buckle up. This is going to be entertaining. Jordan Martinook with Hannah Yates.
Jordan, you can hear this crowd. They've been rumbling. This group comes back.
I can't hear you.
This group comes back from a 3-goal deficit, 5 unanswered to pull off this massive comeback victory. How do you describe what made it possible?
I talked to you in the intermission. We liked the way the second period finished, and I think everybody in that room where we felt it coming, and then obviously came out in the third, and that's a hell of a hockey period. And thank you guys. You got us going. Love you guys.
We did talk during the second intermission of hockey. You talked about that belief in this room. How does the depth speak to what happened on the ice here tonight?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about depth or what you want to talk about, but it's just guys that believe that we can do it. And obviously we weren't happy with the first period. We weren't happy with the way the score was, but we just dug in and we got it done.
A 2-game series lead as you guys pack your bags and head to the island. What kind of tone does this set for the rest of the series?
Yeah, I want to go right now, but we'll regroup tomorrow. We'll watch some film on it, and we just got to keep getting better.
He wants to go right now, Joe. He's ready to wrap this series up, baby. That's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. Mike Maniscalco is going to join us in a little bit once he gets settled. Let's go to the YouTube comments from T. Can someone explain to me what Jake Gensel did wrong? What unwritten rule code did he break? He didn't do anything wrong. As we talked about with Luke DeCock, Joe, this is playoff hockey, man. When you kind of lose it the way that the Islanders lose it, you have to send some sort of message. You have to feel good about something. I didn't like the way to me, the Islanders gave the game away with the way that they handled themselves at the end of this game. But that's what that's about. There's no unwritten rules or anything like that.
It just seemed like they unraveled there. I mean, and it happens, and it happens quickly. The Hurricanes couldn't get anything going on the Harry Potter bad guy, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open.
All right, Mike Maniscalco, Bally Sports, Canes play-by-play. Mike, how's your voice, bro? Because 3 goals, 80 seconds, 5 unanswered goals. That was a hell of an ending, man. We've seen this with the Canes before, but my goodness, it never gets old watching it happen.
No, it doesn't. I mean, this to me. The voice is fine because, didn't have a ton positive goal-wise for the Canes, but it was believe it or not, it was a positive game. That's the weirdest thing to try to explain hockey to people who, don't get it. They're like, oh, how did they lose this game? They dominated statistically and everything. Well, you can be goaltendered, you can hit posts, you can have bounces, you can have all of those things. There again is the great Shannon Hogan. I'm going to keep up that tradition from MSG. I'm doing this for you.
Look, if it worked the last time, we're going to do it again, Mike. Let's go.
I'm just a little stitious, not superstitious. But with that being put out there, you just looked at this game, and I kept sitting there going, if the Canes could get one, if they could get one, and let's make this interesting. And then you get to the third period, and you're like, they were really the better team. And we've seen them score 2 goals in the third period a ton. I know that the Islanders can lock it down, and that's what they do. But, they got the one from Teravainen, and now you're sitting here thinking, okay, can they get that next one? In my mind, it's always, blocks of time. Would it be the first 5 minutes? For me, it was the first half of the third. If they could make this game 3-2, that really puts the pressure on the Islanders. And I mean, the Islanders, they did nothing offensively after their third goal, which was a beautiful goal by Anders Lee. But this was one of these games where you look at what the Hurricanes were able to do. And to me, it's the tale of you just stick with it. If this is what your identity is, if this is what you do, you don't throw it out the window because it's not going the way that you want it to. And I mean, the funny thing is, I could have told you and you would have looked at me like I was crazy when it was 3-0. Like the Canes were actually better. They were just down 3-0.
Hey, Mike,
sometimes it happens.
That's why I put $5 down on the plus 520, baby. Let's go.
Way to be responsible, Joe.
I did. That's why I only do $5. I did want to hit on something though, and I know you and Tripp talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to expand on it because I'm with you. It takes one goal, right? So when Turbo gets his goal, you're like, all right, let's see where they can claw back in this. Jarvis scores. We know what happens with the Canes when Jarvis scores goals. There's something that feeds off of it, of the fact that when he scores, they win. It was Toronto coming through and getting that goal off with the high stick. To me, because that can change things, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're clawing back. That can change things. And I think it gave the Canes a little bit of a breather. Like, all right, we got time. Let's keep plugging away. We got time.
Yeah, I mean, because that would have made it 4-2. And it would have made it 4-2 immediately. And the funny thing is, with our vantage point, a lot of times you're really way up. So when we're going over reviews and you'll hear Tripp say that, that's, it's above the goal or we're going to wait to see. That was one where I saw 2 sticks clearly above the crossbar. And my only thought was, if you're a Canes fan, it better hit Kyle McLean's stick. Because if it hits Brady Shea's stick, well, tough. It's going to be a 4-2 game. But that was one that right away, it was hit by a high stick. It was just, how quick was it? And I believe it was Francois St. Laurent who was on it immediately saying no goal. It was no goal. There's the fabulous Shannon Hogan. I told you. She is the absolute best. Bye, Shannon. We will see you on see you on Long Island.
On the island.
She knows it's on the island because
on the island.
She's the best. She's
Mike,
the absolute best.
You mentioned Kyle McLean, and I heard Nason say it in the locker room that he asked him, like, "Are you sure?" What was the fight about? What was that all about?
No, I'll tell you what. I think that was smart for Kyle McLean, because if you go back, the Islanders had nothing. I mean, they had gone 7 minutes without a shot on goal. They were hemmed in. They couldn't get the puck across the Canes blue line. And when they did, they have it for about 3 seconds and the Canes were turning it the other way. For me, that was, I think, a frustration play from Stefan Nason, because Nason gets knocked down in front of the net. Then Clutterbuck comes and kind of bangs him a little bit. And we didn't have a good angle about it, but I think there was a little something more to it than just, hey, it's a hockey nudge. And then he's coming back. So Nason's mad. And McLean seeing this as a point of, all right, well, we're not doing anything. Maybe if I throw down, because here I am, what am I trying to do? Step up against a guy who knows how to throw. Maybe that'll give a jolt to the bench for, like, come on, boys, let's get into this one. So, I'll give McLean credit, because this is for it's barbaric and you can't have fighting. The staged fights were the dumb things in hockey, and those are gone. This was one where you want to get emotion going. You want to get something going. Nason's frustrated, so he wants his pound of flesh for what happened. And here's McLean going, maybe I can give my bench a jolt if I do something. And if you notice after that, the Islanders that was their best hockey in the game.
Yeah.
The next 5-6 minutes after that. So that's where it came from. And again, I liked it because I didn't think it was something contrived. It was something that was in the spirit of just, okay, you got one guy who's frustrated, one guy's trying to spark his team. Here we go.
All right, 2 questions from Mike. I'm going to go caller mode here on you. The first one is Brett Pesce. I know he had something happen, lower body injuries, how it was listed, that happened with about 9:30 at the 9:30 mark, I think, in the second period.
Right.
Did not return for the third period. Non-contact, if I understand correctly. Any sort of update on Pesci tonight?
No. Rod Brindamore just gave it in his post game and said it doesn't look good. But he'll see the doctor tomorrow, and we'll see what it is. But that's the tough thing, especially when it was a non-contact injury. He just made a turn, and you could kind of see. I can't speculate on what it is, other than it is a lower body injury, which the Canes confirmed. But this is going to be something, and this is why you have depth. This is why you have Tony DeAngelo, and then you've got Scott Morrow and Dylan Coughlin. You have depth in the organization, but I'm hoping that this is one of those ones where it looks really bad tonight, and when everything settles down, it's not your worst fear tomorrow.
And it looked like it happened on the Anders Lee goal, Mike. Did you see it that way, or did it happen somewhere else?
It happened, and it was his last shift of the game, and you track it back. It wasn't on the goal, although maybe that's where it could have started, and he took a couple of shifts after that. But he takes a shift, and he's turning, and it's a tight turn, and it's a nothing play. Really, the Canes have it. They're moving the puck out of their zone in the second period, and he makes a tight turn, and you just kind of see his right leg going to it's in a I don't want to say it goes in a bad spot, but you can tell it's his right leg that I don't know if he toe picks on the ice, but he headed right to the bench after it happened, and then that was it. So.
Yeah, because I had asked Luke because I had the same thought, Giglio, because
he was lunging after Lee, and you could see he was kind of straining to try to get in and create some interference. I had just kind of assumed something had happened there.
Apparently that wasn't it, because I think Luke and Corey Lavalette had gone back to the replay and identified. I think it was like
we showed it. We did show it on the broadcast. So
okay.
Well, and I have to go with what we think is where it was, but it was his last shift. So
okay,
you can go from there.
And then the second question, if I go, Mike, is this series now over? Because I didn't like the way the Islanders closed this thing out, man. They look like a team that they look broken. And I mean, you get 3 goals scored on you in 80 seconds, 500 unanswered goals. I mean, that's going to break a team.
I think this breaks them. I really do. Because you have a game the other night where the Canes don't play their best, and you have a chance to beat them in game 1. And you're the Islanders, and you're like, we could have taken game 1. And you let it slip through because you let the Canes get to their game in the third period. This one tonight, this would have been the textbook definition of stealing a game, because the Canes were the better team, but you've got a 3-0 lead, and you let that dissolve. Again, I've seen a lot of crazy things in hockey. I'm not going to say 100%, but this is 99% over. I'll give the Islanders are going to get a game, I think, on Long Island, but I don't see them the way that this one ends. I don't see them with the ability to win 4 of the next 5 over this hockey club. I just don't see that happening.
And I'll ask your bonus question. I asked Luke this to get his thoughts on how to handle Freddie Anderson. I mean, he's going to play Thursday. I think we can all assume he's going to play Thursday.
I mean, he only faced 12 shots tonight. I mean,
right.
There were times he could have ordered popcorn.
But what do you do? What do you do Saturday? Because I mean, look, he never, if I remember correctly, he did not do back-to-backs. He did not play with the rotation and everything else. So
no, not with the rotation. The last time he had a back-to-back, you got to go back to the start of the season.
Okay,
and it was October 30th and then November 2nd at Philadelphia at the Rangers. And I think the Rangers, that was the last game that he played before the diagnosis.
So I still feel there's a little bit of ramping up for Freddie here. And if they win on Thursday, I mean, not a short turnaround per se, but I mean, 2:00, I could see them putting Kochetkov out there to close things up, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anything that they do with the goaltending, in all due respect to George Steinbrenner, who's on this podcast with us, aka Joe Giglio, which, by the way, Joe, I did not give you enough credit for how awesome that comment was the other night after game 1. But for me, what you do, if you go up 3-0 in this series, now you do have the house money where, all right, we want Pyotr Kochetkov to get a game because you don't want him to sit because of the way this goes. You can give him that afternoon game on the island to try to close it out. And if he closes out the series, it's good feelings for everybody. And you get ready for what looks like it's going to be the New York Rangers in the second round, because watching that game against the Caps the other day, I don't know what the Caps have left, what they can give them. You know, they're going to need Charlie Lindgren to steal the series, and I don't know if that's going to be possible. So, yeah, you can look at this and say, all right, we'll give – I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that you'll give the closeout game, if it's going to be a closeout game on Saturday afternoon, to Pyotr Kochetkov. And again, the reason why – Canes had this rotation during the course of the year, so why not? And it gives you a chance. You keep one goalie sharp, you keep your other goalie fresh, who really hadn't played a bunch. So again, it comes down to Paul Schoenfelder and what he thinks is the right thing to do to push these goaltenders. But I wouldn't be, if you set up that scenario and we get to 1:30 on Saturday afternoon on the island, wouldn't be shocked if 52 is in the crease for Carolina, if that's what they feel is the best thing for the club.
Mike Maniscalco.
Mike, I got one question for Mike before he leaves. And obviously, we're talking about something entirely different if the last 5 goals aren't scored. I understand
sure.
that. We love to give Rod Brindamore and the staff credit for the moves that they make, because they're often almost always right. I am curious, though. What was your thought on taking Jarvis away from Fishy and Gensel?
You know what? I think it was more of putting Andrei Svechnikov with Aho and Gensel, because you really weren't getting anything from that line in game 1 with Seth Jarvis. And I don't know, Joe, if you were at the podium for Seth Jarvis and Jordan Martinook, but Seth Jarvis basically said, you know, I love playing with Marty because he gets me going and he straightens me out. So, and I think what that does is, you've had success with that line during the regular season of Staal with Martinook and Jarvis and the way that they play. And, you know, again, it's not like Seth Jarvis is not going to get minutes playing on that line. He's going to get minutes. And what it does is, I think it actually makes that line more dangerous than Andrei Svechnikov. And I know that sounds weird, but I really think it does, because the way that Jarvis plays his game, how that meshes with those other two, where I think if you put Andrei Svechnikov, the bigger body, with Aho and Gensel, now you can maybe start to do a couple of different things with that line and start getting that to cook, because Svechnikov was the best forward for Carolina in game 1. And I thought that the Aho, Gensel, Svechnikov line was much more noticeable and dangerous today than what we saw the Aho, Jarvis, and Gensel line in game 1. So and here's the thing, you can move it around, but I really think it was, and Rod addressed it a few times, it was really, you had Svechnikov going, you know what you have if you put Jarvis with Martinook and Staal, but let's see what this looks like putting Svechnikov, because I think that was what we all thought it was going to be at some point, right? It was going to be Svechnikov, Gensel, and Aho, like those were going to be the lines, or some facsimile of it. So you got a good look at that. I think that's going to be one, once they really figure out how to play as a trio, that's going to be a handful for the Islanders or whoever they play to try to stop. And you can always go back to putting Seth Jarvis there if you don't like the way that it looks. By the way, there's Rusty Knott. This is Rusty Knott's last game this year with us, so our great A2. Thank you. Shout out to everybody. There you go. So it's like I do the Lou Rawls telethon of stars here. Just people just rotate in while I'm here, guys. So
this is why I contemplated calling this bottom of the barrel Canes post game coverage.
That's me. No, when you're calling me in, that is scraping the bottom of the barrel. By the way, I saw Sabah's note. Hello, Sabah. Great to see you.
Yeah,
or at least read from you again. So,
but I'll say this, Mike, and you and I and Joe have talked about. If we were in Toronto and we covered this team and talked about this team and the way that they do in Toronto, the success that Jarvis had with Aho, to me, if this game ends 3-1 or 4-1, we're having a longer conversation about the decision to take those players apart. You know what I mean? Now, I get what happened in the final period. I'm not trying to dismiss what happened. I'm just thinking to myself, that was where my brain was going. Now, Rod has had a hell of a 6-year run in pressing every freaking button there is. But I did not love, it seemed like an overreaction to me, but I think Adam Gold said it, and you're saying it here, that physical element that Svech can bring to Fishy and Gensel, who are not the two biggest dudes in the history of the world. And now you have Jarvis back with Staal, obviously a physical player. It balances out that. So I get the thought process to it. I just thought the way that Jarvis in particular had come on, it just seemed like a little bit of an overreaction, but I get the physical element to it.
All right, let me do the counterpoint, because that's a really good thought process. And I want to do if we were in Toronto, were in Toronto, the overreaction would have been taking Jarvis away from Martinook and Staal, because Jordan Martinook, since January 2nd, has been a goal-scoring machine. Yeah. And the majority of that was because Seth Jarvis was there. So now you galaxy brain everything. You're like, well, why are you taking this away? And you just try to figure this one out. And I mean, if Gold thinks I'm right, well, then therefore I should just walk off. This is a walk-off for me if I'm on the same page as that.
He'll still find it. No, Mike.
Oh no, Joe. Oh, as you know, you and I both know. Now he'll find out that we're on the same page. There's got to be tweaked somehow.
No, I said it like this.
Yeah,
I said it like this.
Yeah, you
ding,
said
ding,
that.
ding, 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 ding.
It's a totally different sample. Totally different.
But no. To your point, Joe Giglio. Yeah, it would have been, and you have to do the what if game with it, because if it is 4-1, you're going to do, why did you do this? And you broke up the best line in hockey in the last 17 games of the regular season. But again, there's a method to it, and the one thing that Rod Brind'Amour has done when he does make the combinations that you look at and say, well, why is this guy here? Because he knows he can always go back to it if he wants to. And that's the touch
success
and the
is never final. I got you.
Yeah.
So, yep.
That's a big part. And the physicality aspect of it too. I think Aho has a physical component to his game.
Yes.
But it needs to be elevated this time of the year. And I can see why you're going to switch some things around.
And just the other thing is, when you have a player like Andrei Svechnikov, and you look at lines, and a lot of times we always think of three players. Scotty Bowman was really the first one to do it. It was duos. He looked at like a center and a winger combination that worked. And then who do I have going who I can complement this group and go from here? I look at what you do with Andrei Svechnikov because of his size and his speed, where he can back off the defense, and you have to respect that he's an old school power forward. Well, now that's going to give Gensel and Aho a little bit more room to breathe offensively, where in the postseason that room's gone. The Islanders have blocked, I think, 350 shots already in 2 games in this series. At least it feels like it. So you want guys who can drive a line, or they can add something to complement the other two players. Just like if you put Jarvis on that line with Staal and Martinook, well, you got Martinook who, with his speed, and he's going to be ferocious into the corners, and Staal with his size, they're going to give more room for Seth Jarvis to go and make plays and get things going. So everything is thought out, but again, nothing. And this is why I think Rod Brind'Amour, if he's not the best coach in the NHL, I don't know. He's 1B. If John Cooper, if you want to say, is 1A in Tampa, and I can agree with that. But I think he's the best coach in the NHL, because he knows that the game is a living, breathing thing. Wow, this is getting deep. But it's a living, breathing thing where you go with your feel, and you don't have to be. It's the coaches who are committed to, it's got to be this way. Well, those are the guys who lose the team, where the coach is like, all right, this isn't working, we're going to go with this. Or guess what? This didn't work. We're going to go back to what it works. And that's why this team has a 2-0 series lead right now.
All right, Mike, we appreciate it as always. Safe travels on the island.
Mike is here. Thanks to Roback, don't forget.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Thanks to Roback. Without a doubt, the best hoodie I own with Roback. It's unbelievable. I want to wear this thing under my suit.
I was rocking the I was rocking the Roback earlier today. I tried to put a sport coat over it. I realized I needed a new sport coat. I was definitely a large man in a little coat. Not the best look. Not the best look.
I'm right there with you. One day, maybe I can get, as I like to joke when people talk about me and my broadcast partner, the one and only Trip Tracy, who, as you know, Trip is actually, his family is related to Chris Farley's family. Right? No joke.
Yes.
Like Jimmy Farley, the CEO. So the reason why Trip and I think, work so well, it's if you took David Spade and put him in Chris Farley's body, and then took Chris Farley and put him in David Spade's body, like a Freaky Friday. That's where you get me and Trip Tracy.
Okay, I can see that.
They just
and
Spade,
if you did that,
Spade here.
Look, as long as you don't end up down by the river, we're fine.
That's right. But if you use the promo code OG20, you could save 20% on that Roback purchase. See,
and you know what you won't be? You won't be a fat guy in a little coat because their sizes are perfect.
Yes,
and they're super comfortable.
Oh my God, yes.
All right, Mike.
I'm here to help push products, boys.
We'll talk to you later, man.
Yes.
Thanks again for scraping and giving me a chance to talk.
Hey, look, Giglio and I used to do something called Low Rent Sports Talk Theater. We're just going to start calling this Scraping the Bottom of the Barrel Post Game. So let's go. I might have to come up with a new graphic. All right, Mike. We'll talk to you later, man.
Bye, gentlemen. Take care.
Again, use that promo code OG20, Roback.com. I got my shorts in today. Here's the important thing about Roback, customer service. I thought I would fit into large shorts. I had a humbling experience today. I'm going to need extra large shorts. Okay. It's probably too much of this. I mean, it is what it is. It's the dark arts. People have been asking, what are you drinking, Joe?
Are you in the dark arts?
Oh yeah, I've been drinking the dark arts out of the the Lou Holtz glass. Yeah. So
our
anyway.
guy Chris said that we would both enjoy those two bottles that we were supposed to keep.
Yeah,
so that was one of them.
This is something we kept. It's got some heat to it. You might have some issues with it, but I'm actually
I'll struggle with that one.
Okay, cask strength, so it's got a little heat to it. But it's actually really, really good. But here's the thing about Roback and customer service. Look, you ordered it. It might not fit. No big deal. They got the packing slip with it. You can send it back. They'll get the right size for you. So I had to upgrade to the XLs. I'm kind of
Michael. Ovies has still been stealing my merch. Where I'm convinced he came to Garner, took it off of my front porch so that I can't be as comfortable as him.
You and I are not even the same size. You and I are not in the same size. All right, let's go through some comments before we get out of here. The old fan, people can talk about getting cut up early all you want, but that is what a championship team does. That is what a championship team looks like. Yeah, agree with you on that one. This is from Donnie. He might have a shot. That puck a little emphatically, but it was hardly. Oh, that was the Gensel thing from a while back. From James, Martinook played a hell of a game. He fought hard with that puck on the game winner and was +2. Yeah, no, absolutely. From Hayes, Giglio, do I have time to watch Canes at Long Island at 2 p.m. Saturday, then get back to Manhattan for the Wiz at 8 p.m.?
Although I wasn't really thinking that they're out by the racetrack now. You still should have some. As long as you don't get a triple, double, quadruple overtime, you should still have time.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, if they were at Barclays still, that would actually be even more.
Yeah, that's what I was originally. That's what I was thinking, but no, they got their own place now.
Eric Staal was in the building. Is Eric Staal retired? Kind of, sort of. I mean, it's probably that'd probably be the case. If he were, I don't think can he do like the one day signing, like retire a Kane? Is that a possibility? Like as Matthew points out, the NC Arena would lose it if Eric came back.
Yeah.
I know Trip on the broadcast was talking about how one of these days they hope Eric will have his jersey up there in the rafters. I can see that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
there were a shit ton of little stalls running around in the locker room. I can tell you that. Jordan's oldest now. It might have been Eric's. He's like 6'4". I was like, what the hell is going on over here? Get that one back to the sod farm and get him out to the NHL draft. That's for sure.
So from Michael, is Ovies still holding Giglio's Roback here? I am not holding it hostage.
Right. Yeah, he came to Garner, stole it off my front porch. I gotta get the ring cam.
We're not even the same size.
I'm not saying you stole it for the size. The premise is you kept it away from me so that I cannot have as nice as looking clothing as you. That's the premise.
That's fair. All right. We have a full podcast to do tomorrow. So you ready to do that? Yeah. Yeah, we'll have fun. We'll talk some more about this. But Monty Jones is going to drop on by. Brooke Pryor's going to drop on by. We got a draft that's going to be coming up, and obviously we'll talk about.
It's day 2 of draft week. That's what these 300 people are here for. Dan Orlovsky.
Whoa. What is this? I saw an Islanders fan call the Canes classless for trying to score on a power play. What? When did New Yorkers get so soft, Joe?
You know me. You know me.
It is actually the one thing it's funny about hockey. I've seen this from Rangers fans and Islanders fans. It's like, y'all, it's like the toughest city on earth. I'm walking here. And then suddenly in your feelings about getting beat by the Canes like that? Come on now.
You're making a pizza.
Making a pizza. I'm making a pasta. And James will close on this. And to think Ovies was contemplating not doing an OG after dark. You're right. I wasn't. Shows me, right? But you know what?
Apparently I know? He was bamboozled. That was or whatever you claim.
But you know what I know? You know what I know? When the Canes are down 0-3 and that live line, money line is at plus 520. You put $5 down, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's gonna wrap it up. We'll do a full podcast tomorrow. See you then.